Hi there. And today we're going to talk about something that people like to do a lot. They like to play cards. No, they like to play the victim. And we're going to go over some of this victimhood that people like to play. We're going to try to keep this one a little bit short, but we'll see where we end up. We like to relate stories from our lives to make connections with others. In these stories, we portray ourselves as either the hero or the victim. It all depends on the stories we are telling and how we want the listener to think or feel about us. Do we want them to see us as strong and winning, or weak and losing and always needing help? Now, one of the things I want to ask you to do um, over the course of this week, I want you to start listening to the words that you're using. I want you to listen to the stories that you're telling. I want you to start evaluating these stories. You know the stories you tell. You've told these stories so many different times to so many different people. It's like your resume. So listen to those stories. Listen to the language that you use when you're telling that story, and listen to what it is that you are trying to portray about yourself in that story. Are you portraying yourself as the hero, or are you the victim of the story? You're one or the other. There's no other choice. You're never a bystander, because if you're a bystander in the story, there ain't no story. It's the same stories we tell ourselves. We paint ourselves as the hero who took on the monsters and slayed the dragons. We were triumphant in the challenges that had been presented to us. Or were we the victim who someone else took advantage of, leaving us broken and in a pile on the floor? We believe that there is a reason why we haven't achieved our goals. We could have been so much more and had better relationships if it hadn't been for the tragedies that had befallen us in our lives. We could have been more, could have had more. They could have, but they held us down. They beat us into submission. And we cry and say, I could have. Let's listen to those stories. Which ones are you? Did you slay the dragons? Or did they stop you from being able to achieve what you wanted to achieve in your life? So many of us tell these stories about the things that we could have done. And yet we end up coming back to, I could have done that, but you see, I didn't. So now you're going to use an excuse to explain this. I could have done this, but, so and so did this, or I didn't have this, or I didn't have that ability, or that person had this and I couldn't have done that because of this. See, that's a victim. We've all played this game. We all do this. We all paint ourselves as both. We all paint ourselves as a victim at times, and we all paint ourselves as the hero of the story. And lots of times it's all about how it is that we want to perceive, how we want to be perceived by the people we're telling the story to. But really what's important is how do you tell the story to yourself? How do you feel about yourself in that story? What role are you playing? Are you the victim, or did you slay that dragon? Think about this. Think about that language and use the language to change these stories. You always want to be the hero. Always. It might sound being boastous by always making yourself out to be the hero in every story that you're telling, because everyone's looking for that tragedy. But who really wants to listen to I could have been stories? I could have been great, but I could have done this, but no one likes those stories. We don't go watch those stories in the movies. We don't read those books. So why do we want to present ourselves as those stories? Now, I do say when you tell the stories, be honest. Always. Maybe it is that you failed. And go ahead and express that. Even heroes at times fall down. And that's okay. But the thing is are you playing the victim? Because too many times, that is our fallback. We use an excuse for our lack of ability to be able to do what it is that we truly wanted to do, for us to be who we really know we are. I came up with this phrase years ago. It was a poem that I wrote down, and it basically, it's a small one. It goes like this. I need to be the man that I am, not the man that I've become. And I wrote that down because I realized that who I am inside, I was not living up to that potential. And so many of us are in that kind of a situation. I can even still say that I'm a bit of that today. I'm still always struggling to be better, to be more, to be who I really am. And I have fallbacks, you know, just like everybody else. But this is the deal. It's about working forward, and it's about the path that you're going to be on. Are you going to be the hero? You're going to be the victim. You know, see, think about the stories that you have told others. Do you always tell the story the same? What changes did you make? Do you reflect on the story and learn something new from retelling it? Listen to the stories that other people are telling you as well as the stories that you tell. How is it that they're sounding in the story? What language are they using? Keep that in mind about, are they the hero or are they playing the victim? And listen to the tone as the story is being told. I want you to take those stories and to learn from them. I want you to use them as a tool to change and to find some positive in the story. I want you to listen to that story and see if you can look at it from a different angle, from a different perspective, and from a different person being in the lead of that story. I want you to see how does that end up making you feel about that story. It's a funny thing sometimes in the things that we tell other people, things that we feel that are important to us, because lots of times if it was somebody else telling the same story back to us, but it was them as the lead in there, you would understand how absurd a lot of that story is. But for you, it's an identifying story. It's how you identify with yourself and how you identify in life. So that's one of the pieces of the homework that I want you to do for this next week, is to think about those stories that you tell and look at it from a different angle. Look at it from recasting a person in there outside of yourself. The one thing also that we always like to talk about is to keep in mind that your body is always listening to everything. It's listening to all the stories that you're telling, all the words that you use, the thoughts that you're having, and the actions that you are doing. You are the one who's manifesting everything that is in your life. So pay attention to your thoughts and the language. That's your homework for next week, is just thinking about your stories and recasting them and seeing how they play. And so until next time, as always, you take care.